Being signed by a top team is a key moment in a Formula 1 driver's career, the culmination of years of hard work to earn that shot at the big time. But for some, their golden opportunity turns to dust as they fail to make the most of it and damage their reputation. We've picked out the drivers whose chances with big teams failed most spectacularly when they seemed on the brink of a breakthrough. While our selections enjoyed varying degrees of success, with some even winning a race, what they all have in common was their ultimate failure, for whatever reason, to make the most of the chance, often proving unable to measure up to star teammates. Make sure you subscribe to The Race if you haven't already done so you don't miss any of our coverage of Formula 1 past and present. And to be alerted the moment there's something new to watch, hit the notifications bell. Heikki Kovalainen, McLaren. Heikki Kovalainen joined McLaren in place of Fernando Alonso as Lewis Hamilton's teammate in 2008. And it all started well for him, carrying his strong late-season Renault form from 2007 into the new campaign and picking up some good results. But like many others on the list, he ultimately couldn't quite keep up with an all-time great teammate on the other side of the garage. Despite taking pole position for the 2008 British Grand Prix and winning that year's Hungarian race after Ferrari driver Felipe Massa suffered a late engine failure, he ended up only 7th in the standings, while Hamilton won the World Championship. In his second year, Kovalainen struggled as McLaren started poorly. But by his own admission, the toll trying to match Hamilton's pace took on him meant that by the second half of the season, he wasn't driving well. The team searched for replacements for 2010 and eventually signed world champion Jenson Button. Kovalainen continued in F1 with a new Lotus racing team, which went on to become Caterham, but he slid out of Grand Prix racing at the end of 2013. 9. Jochen Mass, McLaren. While best known for his sports car success, Jochen Mass spent 3 full seasons with McLaren after a successful 2-race stint with the team at the end of 1974. Having been the support act to Emerson Fittipaldi in 1975 and won the shortened Spanish Grand Prix at Montjuic Park, many expected Mass to take over the mantle of team leader the following season. Instead, new arrival James Hunt became McLaren's star, winning the World Championship, while Mass fell into the role of support act as he failed to make the most of the McLaren M23 in 1976. While Mass was well respected, he was dropped at the end of 1977, having taken just 1 victory in his McLaren stint compared to the combined total of 12 by his teammates. 8. Johnny Dumfries, Lotus. With Ayrton Senna unwilling to accept Derrick Warwick as his teammate, Team Lotus signed Johnny Dumfries for his one and only season in Formula 1 in 1986. At the time, Dumfries was justifiably highly rated, given he dominated the 1984 British F3 Championship and had gone on to test for Ferrari. But up against Senna, he struggled. Not only was Senna stunningly quick, but Dumfries was very much the number 2 driver in a one-car team. Even so, he didn't make the most of this difficult opportunity, and after being dropped in favour of Satoru Nakajima and a Honda engine deal for 1987, he never got another F1 opportunity, although he did go on to win the Le Mans 24 Hours in 1988. 7. Derek Daly, Williams. When Carlos Reutemann suddenly retired from F1 2 races into 1982, Williams needed another driver. After using Mario Andretti on a one-off basis for the Long Beach Grand Prix, Derek Daly was selected. Daly had made a big impression on his F1 debut in the non-championship International Trophy at Silverstone back in 1978, briefly leading for Hesketh, and had subsequent stints with Ensign, Tyrrell, March and Theodore when he got this big chance. Up against Keke Rosberg, who was on his way to the World Championship, and jumping into the Williams mid-season, Daly didn't make a big impression. Although he picked up 5 points finishes in his 12 outings, he never finished better than 5th, although he could have had a podium at Monaco had his car lasted. And the only time he out-qualified Rosberg, he did it by inadvertently shortcutting the track at Dijon. He wasn't kept on by Williams and started a long IndyCar career in 1983. 6. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Williams. In the mid-1990s, Heinz-Harald Frentzen was the next big thing and touted as faster than old Formula 3 rival and sports car teammate Michael Schumacher. Strong performances for Sauber after making his Formula 1 debut in 1994 supported that view, and the dominant Williams team signed him to replace world champion Damon Hill for 1997. Expectations were sky high, but while teammate Jacques Villeneuve won the World Championship in 1997, Frentzen managed just one victory in the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. Frentzen did have some misfortune along the way and officially finished second in the World Championship after Schumacher's exclusion, but he didn't gel with Williams, particularly with Patrick Head, and there were too many lacklustre race performances. His performances relative to Villeneuve improved in 1998, but in a less competitive car, and Frentzen was dropped. Frentzen moved to Jordan in 1999, winning 2 races and having an unlikely run at the World Championship. 5. Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon, Red Bull. Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon share an entry because their fates were so similar. Both were inexperienced drivers pitched into the front-running Red Bull team alongside Max Verstappen, and both were ultimately discarded, albeit with Gasly continuing to race for AlphaTauri and Albon taking up a role as test driver. Gasly had only half a season to make his case, and his time started badly with 2 crashes during pre-season testing. He failed to finish higher than 4th, as well as frustrating the team with his approach, and was replaced by Albon after the Hungarian Grand Prix. Albon initially fared better, only being denied a podium finish by a clash with Lewis Hamilton in Brazil, and retained the seat for 2020. But he proved unable to kick on and get close enough to Verstappen's level, and despite taking podium finishes in the Tuscan and Bahrain Grand Prix, he was dropped for 2021 in favour of Sergio Perez. 4. JJ Leto and Jos Verstappen, Benetton. This is another shared entry because JJ Leto and Jos Verstappen's fates as teammate to world champion Michael Schumacher at Benetton in 1994 were intertwined. 1994 was supposed to be Leto's big opportunity after 4 seasons in midfield and backmarker machinery, but he suffered a broken neck in a pre-season testing crash at Silverstone. That sidelined him for the start of the season, allowing highly rated rookie test driver Verstappen a shot. Verstappen made a promising start, although his debut at Interlagos ended up with him being launched into the air in an accident triggered by Eddie Irvine. But Leto was fit to return for the 3rd race of the season at Imola. Leto, who retired from 3rd place on his 2nd outing in Spain and picked up a 6th place in Canada, was benched after 4 races, with Verstappen returning and picking up podium finishes in Hungary and Belgium, but neither made a big enough impact in what was very much Benetton's 2nd car. Although Leto returned for 2 more races later in the season in place of the banned Schumacher, neither he nor Verstappen could make a Benetton seat their own, with both leaving the team and Johnny Herbert taking over the drive for the final 2 races. Aside from 2 outings for Sauber at the end of 1994, Leto never raced in F1 again, while Verstappen didn't get another top team chance in his long Grand Prix career. 3. Ivan Capelli, Ferrari. Ivan Capelli was an obvious choice for Ferrari given his heroics for the Leighton House March team, famously almost winning the 1990 French Grand Prix. But his big break with Ferrari in 1992 was both ill-timed and ill-fated. The 1992 Ferrari F92A was ill-handling, underpowered and unreliable. You can find out more about that car in our video about every F1 team's worst car. And Capelli was up against Jean Alesi. While Alesi's attacking style got the best out of a limited car, Capelli's smoother style didn't work and he found the team unreceptive to his feedback. The result was just 3 points and his season coming to a premature end when he was replaced by test driver Nicola Larini for the final 2 races. Capelli's F1 career was effectively over as he struggled in 2 outings for Jordan at the start of 1993, although he did later return as an Italian TV commentator. 2. Andrea de Cesaris, McLaren. Andrea de Cesaris was placed at McLaren by Marlboro, which had just facilitated the takeover of the team by Ron Dennis's Project 4 operation. The timing was perfect for de Cesaris, given McLaren introduced the first all-carbon monocoque MP4 that year and was back on race-winning form. But the Italian's performances were not up to it. In his first full F1 season after 2 outings for Alfa Romeo the previous year, de Cesaris was accident-prone, earning the predictable nickname Andrea de Crasheris and finishing only 6 races, with just 1 point to his name. McLaren even declined to let him use the spare car to start the Dutch Grand Prix after crashing his race car in qualifying. By comparison, teammate John Watson won the British Grand Prix and finished 6th in the World Championship. Unsurprisingly, de Crasheris was dropped by McLaren and headed back to Marlboro-backed Alfa Romeo. He went on to enjoy a long F1 career, starting over 200 races with Marlboro support. But that chaotic season with McLaren was never forgotten, even by Ron Dennis, who was apparently reluctant to employ Italian drivers in future as a result. 1. Michael Andretti, McLaren. As an established IndyCar star and the son of 1978 world champion Mario, Michael Andretti's move into F1 with McLaren in 1993 was eagerly anticipated. But as Andretti himself later put it, his ill-fated 13-race stint meant that nobody was going to touch me with a 10-foot pole in Formula 1 again. Andretti was a superb driver, but with limited testing, restrictions on the number of laps in practice and qualifying, and constantly being compared to teammate Ayrton Senna, he was unable to show it in Formula 1. Andretti seemed doomed from the start, completing just 36 laps in his first 4 races, crashing out at both Interlagos and Donington Park on the opening lap. Although he picked up his first points with 5th in the Spanish Grand Prix, adding a 6th place in France 4 races later, by the time he made the podium in 3rd at Monza, he was already on his way out, with a deal to return to IndyCar with Chip Ganassi Racing on the table. To add insult to injury, test driver Mika Hakkinen took Andretti's place and outqualified Senna on his McLaren debut in the Portuguese Grand Prix, then claimed his first podium finish with 3rd, second time out at Suzuka. Andretti, meanwhile, won on his IndyCar comeback and never returned to Formula 1. Let us know in the comments below which of these drivers you think deserved a better shot, or who we've missed out. And if you enjoyed this look at F1's big team underachievers, remember to like and subscribe.